BFG. In the last part, Sophie and the BFG have devised a plan. Sophie came up with the idea of mixing the dreams. The BFG can mix any dream and make anything that you want. So, they're going to mix a dream and blow it in the window of the queen. But, if it doesn't work, what's going to happen? They're going to try to save the children. And they're going to try and stop the giants. Well, what if they catch the BFG? I don't know. Let's find out. This chapter is called Mixing the Dream. It was dark now. The night had already begun. The BFG, with Sophie sitting on his hand, hurried into the cave and put on those brilliant, blinding lights that seemed to come from nowhere. He placed Sophie on the table. "Stay there, please," he said, "and no chittering. I was needing to listen only to silence when I was mixing up such a naughty, plexicated dream as this." He hurried away from her, got out an enormous empty glass jar that was the size of a washing machine. He clutched it to his chest and hurried toward the shelves on which stood the thousands and thousands of smaller jars containing the captured dreams. "Dreams about giants," he muttered to himself as he searched the labels. "The giants is guzzling human beings. No, not that one. Nor that one. Here's one, and here's another." He grabbed the jars and unscrewed the tops. He tipped the dreams into the enormous jar he was clutching, and as each one went in, Sophie caught a glimpse of a small sea-green blob tumbling from one jar into another. The BFG hurried towards another shelf. "Now," he muttered, "I was wanting dreams about giggle houses for girls and about boggle boxes for boys." He was becoming very tense. Sophie could almost see the excitement bubbling inside him as he scurried back and forth among his beloved jars. There must have been 50,000 dreams altogether up there on the shelves, but he seemed to know exactly where every one of them was. "Dreams about little girl and dreams about me, about the BFG. Come on, hurry up. Get on with it. Now where in the wonky world is I keeping those?" Hold on, I'll show you a picture. Here is the BFG looking through his jars of dreams to find the ones he's looking for. And so it went on. In about half an hour, the BFG had found all the dreams he wanted and had tipped them into the one huge jar. He put the jar on the table. Sophie sat watching him but said nothing. Inside the big jar lying on the bottom of it, she could clearly see about 50 of those oval green sea green jellyfish shapes, all pulsing gently in and out, some lying on top of the others, but each one still quite separate, individual dream. "Now we is mixing them," the BFG announced. He went to the cupboard where he kept his bottle of frobscottle, and from it he took a gigantic egg beater. It was one of those that has a handle which you turn, and down below there are a lot of overlapping blades that go whizzing around. He inserted the bottom end of the contraption into the jar where the dreams were lying. "Watch," he said. He started turning the handle very fast. There he is, mixing the dreams with the egg beater in the gigantic jar. Flashes of green and blue exploded inside the jar. The dreams were being whisked into a sea-green froth. "The poor thing," Sophie cried. "They is not feeling it," the BFG said as he turned the handle. "Dreams is not like human beings or animals. They has no brains. They is made of zosimus." After about a minute, the BFG stopped whisking. The whole bottle was now full to the brim with large bubbles. They were almost exactly like the bubbles we ourselves blow from soapy water, except that these had even brighter and more beautiful colors swimming on their surfaces. "Keep watching," BFG said. Quite slowly, the topmost bubble rose up through the neck of the jar and floated away. A second one followed, then a third and a fourth. Soon the cave was filled with hundreds of beautifully colored bubbles, all drifting gently through the air. It was a truly wonderful sight. As Sophie watched them, they all started floating towards the cave entrance, which was still open. "They're going out," Sophie whispered. "Of course," said the BFG. "Where are they going?" "Those is all little teeny dream bits that I isn't using," the BFG said. "They is going back to the mystery country to join up with proper dreams." "It's all a bit beyond me," Sophie said. "Dreams is full of mystery and magic," the BFG said. Do not try to understand them. Look in the big bottle, and you will now see the dream you is wanting for the queen. Sophie turned and stared into the great jar. On the bottom of it, something was thrashing around wildly, bouncing up and down and flinging itself against the walls of the jar. Good heavens, she cried. Is that it? That's it, the BFG said proudly. But it's horrible, she cried. It's jumping about. It wants to get out. That's because it's a troggle humper, the BFG said. It's a nightmare. Oh, but I don't want to give the queen a nightmare, Sophie cried. If she is dreaming about giants guzzling up little boys and girls, then what is you expecting it to be except a nightmare? BFG said. Oh, no, Sophie cried. Oh, yes, he said. A dream where you is seeing little chidlers being eaten is about the most frightsome troggle-humping dream you can get. It's a Kixie Bog Thumper, a Whopsy Grub Switcher. It's all of them riddled into one. It is as bad as that dream I blew into the flesh lump eater this afternoon. It is even worse. Sophie stared down at the fearful nightmare dream that was still thrashing away in the huge glass jar. It was much larger than the others. It was about the size and shape, shall we say, a turkey's egg. It was jellyish. It had tinges of bright scarlet deep inside. There was something terrible about the way it was throwing itself against the sides of the jar. A little picture of the jar with the troggle humper. Nightmare. I don't want to give the queen a nightmare, Sophie said. I was thinking that your queen will be happy to have a nightmare if having a nightmare is going to save a lot of human beings from being gobbled up by filthsome giants. Is I right or is I left? Well, I suppose you're right, Sophie said. It's got to be done. She will soon be getting over it, he told her. Have you put all the other important things into it? Sophie asked. When I was blowing that dream into the queen's bedroom, he said, she will be dreaming every single little thing-a-ling-a-ling you is asking me to make her dream. About me sitting on the windowsill? Well, that part is very strong. And about a big friendly giant, she asked. I was putting a nice long gobbage about it, he said. As he spoke, he picked up one of his smaller jars and very quickly tipped the struggling, thrashing troggle humper out of the large jar into the smaller one. Then he screwed the lid tightly onto the small jar. That's it, he announced. We is now ready. He fetched his suitcase and put the small jar into it. Why bother to take such a great big suitcase when you only have one jar? You can put that jar in your pocket, she said. The BFG looked down at her and smiled. By goggles, he said, taking the jar out of the suitcase. Your head is not quite so full of grime sludge after all. I can see you is not born last week. Thank you, kind sir, Sophie said, making a little curtsy from the tabletop. Is you ready to leave? The BFG asked. I'm ready, Sophie cried. Her heart was beginning to thump at the thought of what they were about to do. It really was a wild and crazy thing. Perhaps they would be both thrown into prison. The BFG was putting on his great black cloak. He tucked the jar into a pocket of his cloak. He picked up his long trumpet-like dream blower. Then he turned and looked at Sophie, who was still on the tabletop. The dream bottle is in my pocket. Is you going to sit in there with it during the travel? Never, Sophie cried. I refuse to sit next to that beastly thing. Then where is you going to sit? BFG asked her. Sophie looked him over for a few minutes. Then she said, if you'd be kind to swivel one of your lovely big ears so that I is lying flat like a dish, that would make a very cozy place for me to sit. By gumbo, that is a squackling good idea, BFG said. Slowly he swiveled his huge right ear until it was like a great shell facing the heavens. He lifted Sophie up and placed her into it. The ear itself was about the size of a large tea tray, was full of the same channels and crinkles as a human ear. It was extremely comfortable. I hope I don't fall down your ear hole, Sophie said, edging away from the large hole just beside her. Be very careful not to do that. You would be giving me a cronking earache, he told her. The nice thing about being there was that she could whisper directly into his ear. You is tickling me a bit. Please do not jiggle about. I'll try not to, Sophie said. Are we ready? Ow! Yelled the BFG. Don't do that. I didn't do anything, Sophie said. You was talking too loud. You was forgetting that I was hearing every little thing-a-ling-a-ling 50 times louder than as usual, and there you is shouting away right inside my ear. Oh, gosh, Sophie mumbled. I forgot that. Your voice is sounding like thunder and trumpets. I'm so sorry. Is that better? No, cried the BFG. It sounds as though you is shooting off a blunderbuss. Then how can I talk to you? Sophie whispered. Don't, cried the BFG. Please don't. Each word is like dropping buzz bombs in my ear hole. Sophie tried speaking right under her breath. Is this better? She spoke so softly she couldn't even hear her own voice. That's better. Now I was hearing you very nicely. What is you trying to say to me just now? I was saying, are we ready? We is off, cried the BFG, heading for the cave entrance. We is off to meet Her Majesty the Queen. Outside the cave, he rolled a large stone back into place and set off at a tremendous gallop. And with that, we will stop here. In the next chapter, they are on their way to see the Queen of England. They made the dream. They have a plan. But is it going to work? We'll just have to wait and find out. See you next time.